this up.
Move the timer a little.
Do you have my reputation question still, or did you scrap that?
Actually, I did scrap that. If you want to bring that up, though.
Oh.
Actually, Ezzy had a question first. I'm gonna let him go first.
So back when the club started, we used to play a lot of games, and if you've noticed, this club has turned to we still game and stuff like that, right? Like we play Magic here and we play League of Legends at home and things, but it's been more of a social thing now. Like people meeting each other and things like that, and that's nice. But it is the Kwantlen Gaming Guild, and it'd be nice to go back into some gaming. And it's been what, like 6-7 months, and there hasn't been really much done about that. We used to have this big Steam group, and we used to play like hours and hours of like Team Fortress and like Terraria and Minecraft and things like that. And sorry, wherever John is, Peter G used to be the guy who was in charge of that, which he is not doing anymore because he's not really part of this club anymore. How would you guys try and fix that as a president? We're like, you're gonna find somebody in charge of it. Are you gonna be in charge of it? Are you gonna try and get like the Steam group back up, or like try and get like some? If there's a game on sale on the weekend, be like, hey, this game's on sale, guys. Let's get it. Let's all play together. Like I don't know how to word that, but.
So thanks, Ezzy, for the question. Do you need a reiteration, Jay? All right, thank you. Go ahead.
This is a symptom of the current president, and I will just put that forth. At one point, roughly 5 months ago, he came to an executive meeting and he said, the fact that we're a Kwantlen Gaming Guild is great, but I want us to be more of a social club. And at that point, we all, mouth agape, went, what are you talking about? The reason why such things like the Steam group and just general gaming have fallen by the wayside is because we don't have an active president. And the fact that just being active and pushing for members to have fun with one another should be one of the things that should be happening with the president, but isn't. So, as president, yes, I'll take over the Steam group, and I'll post.
All right, thank you. Same question to Joseph. Would you like a reiteration? Sure. So, in the past, we've been very gaming oriented. In the present, we're not so much, more of a social club. What are you gonna do to change, to take us back to our roots and bring us more to a gaming dedicated club?
I do want to start with, it's not bad to be a social group. Like it is an okay spot to be in. But for the people that want us to go back to our gaming type stuff, I think a big part of it has to do with the president being active. You don't see these big Facebook posts from our current president, promoting things, because I know that he used to. I know that he would always be like, hey, our Steam group, like he would keep bumping things up, and that's stopped. And I think that that's something that's got to start again. Without people being aware that we have these things, we're not going to be anything else except for a social group.
All right, thank you. Actually, Preet did have a question.
He can go first. I'm still thinking.
It's just like super real quick.
Yeah.
So like you said, PUG's not really like here anymore. Do you think we should just make a new Steam group, or just keep the new one, or what do you think?
I don't think this should really be a big question.
Yeah. This is kind of more.
Does he own the group, or does
this is more of a technical question.
Yeah.
If you want to bring this up during like another meeting, this is probably. I can actually put in just answer it for you right now. Right now, like basically what we decided is that we're just gonna keep using the same Steam group. We might create another one, but it's definitely something that we're looking into changing, especially because of things that have come up recently. We definitely do want to start working on that. We're not really sure what we're doing. Do you want Amanda go first, or do you want to?
Amanda go first, yeah.
Sure, Amanda.
So, because of past conflicts, the KGG has a negative reputation with several clubs and people. If you're elected, what will you do to remedy that?
I believe it is Jay's turn to answer.
Yes.
Yes. I have attended inclusivity training, and I understand where these conflicts come from. I have also been one of the key proponents of the shh movement going around. Yeah, that's what I'm calling it. One of the reasons why we have this negative reputation is that a lot of the behavioral things that we as a club expose aren't actually enforced. And again, this has to do with the current president being inactive. Being active and being there to remind people of the rules when they slip up is something that I'm all for.
Thank you. Question to Joseph.
So I think a lot of the issues with why these other clubs don't really like us is because not necessarily of what we're saying, but look where we are, right? We're not supposed to be saying these things in here, and these other members of other clubs walk through and they hear us, right? We, some of us are guys. I hope some of us are guys, and we have our talks, and we call each other names. We do all this stuff, and that's all fine and dandy when you're at your friend's house and all that. But here, it's just not allowed. And I think that part of the president's job is doing more than saying, "Hi, welcome to our weekly meeting," and I'm just going to remind you in our introduction that, look at the sign. It needs to be said every single time somebody does something.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Preet.
Okay, so on Tuesday we play Project M, like we call it Project Tuesday. Right. Recently there have been complaints when someone's played 1v1 that people have felt maybe they're not included as much as it would be if we played free for all. A lot of people have they want to play but they don't speak up, and they've complained about it. A lot of people have simply said they feel intimidated when they see one competitive player play their player. They feel like they don't want to play anymore if there's such a high level of competition. And so what we've kind of done to remedy that is that we just kind of let them play free for all. We just forget the whole 1v1 thing. But we also want to start a little bit of a competitive community smash. We want. I feel like the players here that are really good, we can compete with, like SFE or UC, and bring a name for ourselves. Is there a space for a competitive smash in the SGR? I mean, right now, in my opinion, the only way to get better is to play 1v1. Free for all is just do random, and if you're just playing free for all, we can't get better. And today we played a little bit on my laptop, but even then, the frame rate is kind of laggy on it. My adapter kind of sucks and it glitches out, so it's not exactly perfect. What would you do to? Do you think there's a place for competitive smashers here, or is this just a free for all house?
So this being such a broad question, I'll just reiterate it into the points that I believe are the most important.
Yeah.
With Smash being obviously a bit of an issue in the club room right now, as it is, with the divide among the both casual and more hardcore players, what would you do to help deal with the problems that we're having with those two groups of players? And the second part of the question is, do you think that there is a space in our club for a real competitive scene? You guys can come in.
Come in, guys.
You guys can come in.
Come in. Right, this is actually a good time for you guys to
concerning
come
you
in.
guys right now.
This
Both you
concerns you
guys.
guys, so.
All right, I will actually reiterate the question for you guys as well. So Preet asked this question. With the divide among both the casual and the hardcore gamers that are in Smash right now, what would you do to deal with the problems that we're dealing with right now? And the second part of the question is there a space? Do we have a place for competitive Smash in the KGG?
Also, what would you do about people who complain that they're not being included in Smash but don't speak up about it?
We'll actually give you guys both a minute on this one. Three-part question. How'd you deal with the two different groups? You take a minute and a half if you need it. How'd you deal with the two different groups, casual and hardcore? Is there a space for competitive Smash? And sorry, the third one is
People who say that
how are you
going
going to deal with inclusivity?
but don't say anything about
Sure.
it. Well,
Go ahead and take a minute and a half. Sorry, who's starting? Yeah, Joseph.
Okay, so the first one I'm going to tackle is there space for a competitive scene here? Absolutely, right? I said earlier that I want us to be legitimate amongst the other campuses. And in order to do that, we have to have a competitive scene. So to cover that, yes, I do think we need to have a competitive, some piece of it needs to be competitive. The other part that I'm going to answer here is how to deal with the divide and how to get the competitive players the chance to get better, but keep the casual players from walking off and being frustrated. This is a lot of self-monitoring. Definitely, you just need to know, like the competitive players and the casual players need to know when they've played too much, and they need to just take a break. And there is no problem with coming up to me if I'm elected president. There's no problem coming up to me and being like, hey, these guys have been on here for a little while, and we want to get a little bit of practice in, like, and I have no problem coming up and be like, hey, do you mind, right? Like, that's just something that the president should be able to do, is be like, hey, like, give somebody else a turn. And then sorry, I forgot what was the last part.
The last part is how are you going to deal with the inclusivity, making sure that people are included in.
So this is the exact same thing. If Richmond isn't able to speak up and he's afraid of talking to Preet and asking to play, talk to me. Talk to me. That's all it is. That is the president's job, right? We're supposed to talk to people. If you have a problem, you talk to me, and if it's something simple like that, I can get it fixed.
Right, I'm going to cut you off there. Thank you. Same question to Jay. Would you like me to bring up the 3 points once again? Sorry, this is a bit of a long question. So how would you deal with the divide that's in the Smash community with the casual and the hardcore gamers? Second part is there a space for, or is there a place for competitive Smash in the Quantum Gaming Guild? And the last part is how are you going to deal with inclusivity, including people into games that are going on?
All right. First one again, just
Divide.
All right. So the first and third part of this question have the same issue. It is an issue of approachability. It should be something that players who feel like they are being pushed out are able to go and speak to the president, and the president should be able to fix this. Is there room for competitive Smash? There's room for competitive everything. We should have a competitive hula.
We're just going to let him finish his.
Okay,
yeah.
As far as, that screwed me up.
Second part is competitive. Is there a space for competitive Smash?
Yes, definitely. There is space for competitive portions of all games that we play. However, the fact is that players feel dejected on certain days. It should be the priority of those days to give the room to the competitive players to improve. And it should be on the other side of the coin for the president to let those players know there are other days for casual Smash.
All right, thank you. We'll let Preet add anything.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Rather than responding, don't respond to anybody's individual comments. It's better to just add on to the question if you have an add-on.
I get on.
Yeah, so we'll give the floor to Keith.
Okay, so because the KGG being Quantum Gaming Guild, we know that some games are more popular than others. How do you increase the popularity or make some small games well known, like for example Amanda's Secret World, among the club and garner like a healthy community about it?
Thank you, Keith. Jay, if you want to answer that first.
In the beginning, when we started the club, we had a whiteboard. I miss you, whiteboard. And every meeting for the first 5 or so weeks, we got everyone in the club to put up their hands and say, who plays this game, who plays this game, who plays this game. Now that takes a long time if you're doing it at every single meeting, but it is definitely something that should be encouraged once in a while. If you are looking for players to play the Secret World with, I personally own the game. I'm not going to play it, sorry. You should feel free to bring it up at meetings. You should feel free to bring it to the president's attention. You should feel free to post it on the Facebook group, and the president should help you corral those players.
All right, I'm going to cut you off in 45 seconds. Same question to Joseph.
Yeah, so this falls under the president not being active in the room and not being active on the Facebook group. I think that if a player wants to play a game and they want other people to play, even if they're not comfortable enough to bring it up in a public setting, they should be able to approach the president, at which point he should be like, yeah, I'll make a post about it. I'll bring it up at the next meeting, right? Like, and be legitimate about it. You know, not just be like, oh, I'll do it if I can, or, you know, I'll say that I'll do it and then not follow up. It's a lot on what's happened in the past with the president, and these are things that both Jay and I, if elected, would change.
All right, thank you. Richmond had a question.
Okay, so this is like an add-on to
Sure.
Amanda's thing. So, you know, like, we have the rules thing. If you are president, would you implement certain repercussions, like a timeout when someone, you know?
Actually, I could add on to that question as
Yeah.
well. So since we do not have ways of disciplining members, if someone was to act out in a certain way, be it physical violence or, you know, someone disrupting others, stuff like that, how do you plan on dealing with people that are a little bit more disruptive than others? We'll give you the full 45 seconds for that.
This is a tough thing to answer because realistically, like, we don't have a huge amount of power in punishing people. Ultimately, we could be like, yo, like, see ya, but that's not a good idea. That's not really going to solve the issue. I think definitely if somebody is feeling uncomfortable in the SJR or anywhere for that matter, they should be able to come talk to me or to Jake or Tamber, anybody, and we should be able to talk to the person who's causing these issues and try and solve it in the easiest way possible. I mean, all we can do is talk to them, realistically.
All right, thank you. Same question to Jake.
This is an issue of conflict resolution, and it is something that you learn as a personal skill as you grow and mature. A lot of our members are right out of high school, and I know I was dopey a billion years ago when I was 19. It really comes down to having role models that you can look to and see how they deal with